Well, hello, all. Sorry about the background here. Been a while since I've been on this here YouTube channel, but I wanted to come on and talk about some things that I think are pretty important. I can't get my head the right way. Um, a lot of things have happened over the past month or two since I've been on this channel. We've now got the name of our ministry. We've got logo for Another Chance Ministry and things like that. Some other things that have happened. And um, recently, I'll be honestly, I've been struggling some with work and things like that, and some really interesting things have happened over even just the past few days. Melinda and I had thought at one time we were going to be moving to Myrtle Beach, north of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, at least part of the year, and that the ministry was destined to be there. And it didn't work out, and so now we're here, and we started the ministry here in Gallatin, and we are looking at possibly expanding it at some point. But the whole thing about Myrtle Beach has come back up. So we're making some plans, and instead of a partial move, to make it a full move in the next 12 to 18 months. We'll know for sure within the next couple of weeks if some things come through that we've put through. And of course, it's all in God's hands, because I still feel like that's where the ministry is supposed to be. But there are other things that have happened recently. And as you know, most of you know, I felt called to ministry at 17 years old. Went to school for ministry, got a little confused based on the education I got. And at 23, while serving a small church in Grantsboro, North Carolina, I ran away from ministry and have ever since. And so it's been over 40 years. And lately, I've made some attempts to come back, but I've never given it full time attention. And I've just never really been happy in life. Happy in my marriage to Melinda, happy with my children, love them all. That's not the problem, but just I've never been able to find a good work life. At the police department, I went through um, 7 promotional procedures, and 6 of them I should have been promoted or transferred to a lateral position. And in every one of them, I was passed over for somebody else. And then we had our own business, and we had our ups and downs with that. And I'm very entrepreneurial minded. I like to be on my own. And obviously, if you know me, I don't like taking order directions from people. Um, Recently, I've found the job I've been in the last year and a half. I've been very happy in it, and for a while, not just me, but a lot of us were kind of in leadership positions. And I thought, hey, I've finally gotten where I want to be. I'm making good money. I've got some say in the direction of where the company is going. And then in the last 6 or 7 months, a new guy's been hired in what we would call a COO type position. And all of that has stopped. None of us there's now kind of a chasm between, is it chasm or chasm? Whichever it is, there's kind of a distance now between perceived leadership and all the rest of us. And not that it's a bad thing. It's just what it is. And so I've been struggling with that, to be honest with you. I've had lots of conversations with my CEO about it. So it's not anything she's not aware of, but I just, and she knows this, I just haven't been as happy as I was when I first started there. And because I felt like all of a sudden now I was back taking direction from somebody. And so recently I've really been praying a lot about that, because I've had some issues with it. And within the last 24 hours, I've come to complete peace. All right. And this is why. Um, I was called to be a minister. I was called to be a pastor. All right. I was. And I've done a lot of things to try to screw that up over the years. But I've run away from that. And I've tried to find happiness in other things. And I just haven't been able to do it. And yesterday, while today is Wednesday, July 3rd. So yesterday on July 2nd, while doing some Bible study and prayer, I finally finally got my answers. And for the first time in 4 years, I fully committed, which I've done that, but I fully committed that God, you called me to church ministry 40 some years ago. And I ran away from it. And I am, for the first full time, really saying, I'm ready. Okay, let's do this. And it's funny. I'll be 64 in October, not November, October. And while most people are starting to retire, I'm looking at launching into a new old aspect of my life. So I don't intend to leave my job unless they cut me loose. I don't intend to just turn my back on that. It is a good job. I do enjoy what I do. But as we make this move and work in my street ministry, I am also committing back to church ministry. And I just know God will open the right doors. At some point, hopefully it'll be like a bivocational role where I'll continue my job and I'll also do church ministry as well as the street ministry. But that at some time at 65, 66, 67, if God allows me to live that long, when I do retire, then it'll be a full-time gig for me, whether I'm even in a part-time role or not. But that's where I'm supposed to have been. And some of the things I had to do was I realized some things that had been hitting me. A few days ago, Melinda and I were doing some purging to get rid of some of the stuff that we're not going to want to take with us. And if it ends up that this doesn't work out, okay, we still need to purge some stuff. And one of the things we found was from my high school graduation. It was a little box, ceramic box thing. A really nice little thing that I've had all these years. I graduated from high school in 1979. All right, so I opened that thing up, and there was my original announcement. And I pulled it out, and underneath it was something I had no idea was there. It was a letter that was written to me by an old girlfriend, all right, that I'd held on to for a lot of years. I always said it wasn't fair to my first wife because I probably still had strong feelings for that girl. And so she never got the full thing. And Melinda, got that all went away when I met her, and we started, we came together. But I had no idea that this letter was there. And it was a letter she wrote to me in 1981 while she was on a cross-country trip with a friend. Why I still had it, I don't know. I remember it now. I was still in college, obviously, living in the deep freeze out in Lucama, North Carolina. But I read it, and I thought, wow, I'd forgotten it said all that stuff. And I put it back away and didn't think anything about it. But over the evening, it came to me. God spoke to me. And the next morning I got up, I came home, I opened it. I did not read it again. And I put it right to my shredder. And what I realized, things that have really hampered me in my life, is things like holding on to my past. All right. Not necessarily her or the relationship, but the youth. The fact that in high school, I was a BMOC. And that all went away as I got older. I was a star on the football team my first high school, and when I went to the school where she was, I was the starting point guard on the basketball team for 2 years. We did well. I was very popular. I was well known even by other teams, and I've got some friends from that. But so I started looking at things, and I realized that things like Isaiah chapter 43 says, forget the former things and do not dwell on the past, okay? 2 Corinthians 5:17, as most of you know, tells us, if you're in Christ, then a new creation has come. The old has gone and the new is here. And then there's the famous one from Jeremiah 29:11, which says, I know the plans that I have for you, all right? And it's to prosper. And I realized that after all these years, I had been holding on to my past because that's where I was somebody, and I wasn't anymore. I'm just a normal person now, and I couldn't deal with that. It's just like, here I was a leader of this company, and now I'm just not, and I couldn't deal with that. And so when I started talking to God about this thing, He told me these things from your past have to go. So I took a lot of things I had from my past, old, almost like idols, old gifts that I'd held on to all these years because they had special meaning to me. Um, what do you call them? Photo albums that I still had from those days, and even my old yearbooks. In the trash they went because my new life started when I accepted Christ at 19. All right. But I've struggled all these years, and it's because I've held on to the things that I thought brought me glory when Christ is what brings glory. And that my new life started with Melinda and then my children that I have. All right. So that any past I go back to goes back to them and then starts anew. Okay. And then with Jesus. So I am committing again to being in ministry at some point, part to full time. I am committed that even though with my past and my some of the things I've done to avoid God of pastoring a church, that church may be a church plant in Myrtle Beach with a huge 500 plus homeless population on here. That may be my congregation. I don't know. But I ask you to pray for me. I covet your prayers. I need your prayers that I will be ready for what God brings to me. Since I've made that decision, I've been at total peace. Nothing right now is bothering me. All right. Um, we all sin. We have sinful times. We do things. We say things. It could be anger, hatred, lust, whatever it is that causes. It could be um, thinking bad of somebody. All these things that can be sinful. All right. Uh, Satan is the one who holds us in that sin. Jesus doesn't. So even sins, like when I get angry with somebody driving down the road or something, I realize, God forgive me for that. Instead of feeling like I've done something I can't be forgiven of, I know I'm forgiven. All right. Then I strive not to do it again. So Satan uses our past as well to hold us in that so that we can't grow in Christ. That's why Paul says that we're a new creation. The old is gone, the new is here. All right. It's taken me a long time to learn these things, and I hope it won't take you as long. I thank you if you've gone through this video with me. I know it's a long one. I would ask you down below to subscribe to this YouTube channel, as I do intend to start putting out more stuff again. And thank you very much for your prayers. God bless you, keep you, and we'll see you as we move forward.